Since I came out as an atheist 6 days ago, I've decided to shift a little bit. Instead of talking about the 1200 reasons why I left Christianity, I want to talk about something more positive for a while. Because the 1200 reasons I left church and religion are all topics that are quite negative. The things that were destructive and harmful and messed me up or kept me under the control of patriarchal, horrible ways of living. I want to talk about something that's much more positive. Something that gives me hope while all but one person in my family ghosted me. So we're going to talk about number one. 130 reasons why I embraced atheism. Number one, finally realizing how religion is an abusive relationship, and I'm a survivor of relationship violence for almost 31 years. You might say, what? A lot of people never think that religion mirrors abusive dynamics, especially for relationships. Because if you ask most Christians, is Christianity a religion? They'll say, no, it's a relationship. So it makes sense that some relationships are abusive, controlling, isolating, toxic, violent. And to start off, when someone describes the God of the Christian faith, what do they usually describe him as? An all-knowing, powerful, male deity that has control and does whatever he wants. And we never question him. I mean, if you remove the God part and put it in a human being, most people would say that is an abusive person. Someone who doesn't like to be questioned, believes that you're supposed to give him all the glory and never stop believing in him. We would call this an abusive dynamic. Who does this guy think he is? Exactly. And I've met hundreds of thousands of people in group therapy sessions. And even on YouTube, that religion mirrors abusive relationships. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that every relationship someone has within a religion, belief system, or even a religious marriage has to be abusive. I'm saying that the core ideologies are. The relationship structures that are taught, glorified, worshipped, and expected are toxic and abusive. Whether or not the nice, loving people who live out these roles and live in these institutions are abusive is up to chance based on how people choose to behave. When your structure is a patriarchal, usually white-controlled male hierarchy, you just rolled a 90% chance of abuse. And if it's not abusive, be shocked. And abuse doesn't always have to be violent and dangerous and fearful. It can just be the man makes the final decision. The woman submits. The children don't question their parents. That's not violent. It's not terrifying, but it is abusive. Any relationship, regardless of age and the people involved, if they can never challenge authority, they can never disobey, they can never do something different without fear of death or eternal damnation, this is abusive. Never questioning God is abusive because love is tested. If you care about somebody, sometimes you might question their behavior in a loving way. You talk to them. You might even challenge them, especially if they're doing something wrong or something that can be hurtful or not bring two people together. To tell young, innocent, vulnerable kids and women that you should never challenge God and male authority is the millstone, the basis of the foundation of religion. The relationship I've had with my parents my whole life is inherently abusive. And you add religion to an abusive dynamic, you have an entirely different, unpredictable layer of toxic power structures. Human beings and an almighty God, that is a power imbalance. And we don't know how kind that male figure could be. And if anyone but God did genocide and encouraged rape, we would condemn that person as a war criminal. Or we would elect them to the White House. That's terrifying. Just because the person calls himself God, they get a free pass. Atheists don't give God a free pass because we see God for what he is. A scapegoat for man's, usually white man's, greed, power, and authority structure. The majority of people on this planet are women, and yet we're not in charge. And I don't want women to always be in charge because that would be a matriarchy. I want to live in a culture where everyone has the same access to any kind of position, lifestyle, just to feel equal. And people call me racist for saying we need to start electing people that aren't always white, straight men. That's not being racist. That's just noticing we keep choosing the toxic stereotype of leadership. I'm not saying that all white, straight men are abusive. I'm saying the highest chance of abuse is when you choose heterosexual, cis, usually straight men. Because that's what the majority of mass shooters look like. Right-wing, conservative, religious, cis, heterosexual, white man. And it may not be popular to say so, but it's factual. I mean, you look at the majority of people who commit sex crimes. 53% of them are men. I mean, well, white men. 94% of all sex crimes are done by men. 6% are by women, approximately. We don't know how many, because our culture doesn't reward survivors for coming forward. And 53% of sex crimes are done by white men. 87% are done by right-wing, conservative, cis, heterosexual extremists, who are usually men. And what I love so much about atheism is that nobody assumes what I believe. Nobody assumes anything about me. Because atheists can be anybody. But when someone says they're a Christian, you always assume this is what they believe. Now, there are some toxic stereotypes that Christians put on atheists. But we don't have a church. We don't meet together and try to proselytize people. We don't have a hell to save people from. We don't have a heaven we're trying to get people into. We're trying to make this world a decent place for everybody. And realizing how religion is an abusive relationship and that I'm a survivor of religious domestic abuse from every shade of religious abuse, religious autonomy violations. I mean, Christianity taught me that women aren't smart enough, good enough, and worthy enough to have control over their own reproduction. Christianity does not see women with the level of respect that they view men. They just don't. You can't teach women to be silent in church and view women with the respect they deserve. It doesn't wash. And that's why I love atheism. It's not my identity. It's not going to save me. It's a reflection of things I want in my life. And how I believe right now can always change. If science discovers that evolution isn't right and that something else is right, I'm open to whatever that might be. I don't think most Christians, especially fundamentalists, are open to anything besides God created the universe. Not in any funny class I've ever taken, anyways. I'm open to learning anything, even if it goes entirely against what I believe. And that's why I'm an atheist. I like the adventure. I don't care where I end up. As long as where I end up doesn't reflect badly on me, I like the adventure. And being a survivor of spiritual abuse is very lonely, because very few people, unless you're a survivor yourself, even believe spiritual abuse exists and that it's thriving and it's making a killing in a lot of places, including the White House.